Okay, we're following some breaking news right now. Ontario Education Minister Todd Smith just announced he is leaving politics effective immediately. Smith has represented Bay of Quinte for nearly 13 years, also previously served as the province's energy minister. He says he has decided to step down and accept a job in the private sector. Now, Premier Doug Ford also issuing a statement on Smith's resignation. This also just came out. It reads in part, "From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank Todd for his many years of service to our government, our province, and our party. Todd will always be a friend, and I can't wait to watch his every success as he starts this next chapter of his life." So let's bring in CTV's political commentator Scott Reid to talk about this development. Scott, you flew down here to talk about it. This just came into our newsroom, and we appreciate that because we're getting a little bit of reaction already on this. This seems somewhat sudden, given, there was an announcement just yesterday when it comes to childcare support for families. Yeah. What do you make of this development here on a Friday morning?
It's dramatically sudden. As you say, yesterday, Todd Smith, as Education Minister, was out making announcements with respect to childcare. He's only been in the portfolio for 2 months, so, he accepted the move to education, in June. So obviously whatever has come about in terms of this job opportunity has arisen just in that crease of a couple of months since then. So yes, it's definitely sudden. It's also significant because there are 4 big ministers in any provincial government: finance, health, education, and energy. Todd has held 2 of those and is the education minister. So that's a big deal for any provincial government when you lose your education minister.
I was thinking this is also a valuable cabinet minister for Doug Ford, given some of his roles. What does this loss, you think, mean to him?
Well, nobody's irreplaceable or absolutely invaluable, but Todd Smith was sure a great piece on the chessboard for him. I mean, obviously, you saw him go into portfolios that were troubled, and he brought to those portfolios calm and competence. Really a safe hands guy. Not only that, but Todd Smith, in addition to his pure competency, unbelievably likable guy. He's from Bay of Quinte, which God made with his hands. I ought to know. I'm from the area. And people like Todd Smith. Yeah. His cabinet colleagues like Todd Smith. The people that he had to work with were stakeholders, members of constituencies, communities. They like Todd Smith. So when you have someone that's capable of handling the pressure of a big portfolio, to move along, to be well liked by his allies, his opponents, and by those in his portfolio, well, you've got a gem. And so it's no great day to lose a gem.
Just 2 months ago, there was that shuffle, as you say. He was shuffled out of energy into education, and then Lecce went over to energy. Yeah. I'm wondering, do you think something was also happening maybe behind the scenes there? Perhaps Smith wasn't happy with that? Do you know? Have you heard anything on that?
My guess is this. I don't think it was so much that Smith was unhappy. I think, and frankly, you would be thrilled to have either portfolio because they are large, substantial portfolios. And education is 25%, maybe 30% of the provincial budget. So you're right at the biggest of big tables. I suspect that they wanted Lecce at energy. If you take a look at the politics of the coming year, what has this government decided in the past couple of months? Well, they've decided that they want to have an election next summer, an early election. They've decided that they want to run against the federal government and the carbon tax. So they put Lecce, who's a little bit more of a scrapper, more abrasive, into that energy portfolio where he can wage war on carbon tax. Remember, day 1 of that cabinet shuffle, Lecce was out talking about the federal carbon tax. Yeah. So I think that's what motivated it. They wanted to get more aggressive, more acerbic, more confrontational. Lecce fulfills that role better. Todd Smith's the kind of guy you put in where you want things to run smoothly, quietly, and not draw a lot of controversy.
Well, you would hope that the education file is moving smoothly because we're only a couple of weeks away now for kids going back to school. And this is a busy time. I mean, even with that development yesterday involving childcare, we've been hearing from childcare operators saying we need more money. This needs to be corrected. That appears as though that's something they've addressed. But is there concern now we don't have somebody in education? And what's happening behind the scenes to make that happen?
What's happening behind the scenes is that my guess is Smith told the Premier last night, this morning, they're moving lickety-split. I suspect we'll have an education minister by the end of the day. Okay. You don't mess around on something this important. And as you say, the school year is upon us. I got 2 kids in the Toronto District School Board system. So you want this addressed. You know that you want somebody in charge and up front for the beginning of the school year. And also, again, it speaks to the suddenness of this. Todd Smith took this portfolio 2 months ago. He's making announcements yesterday. My guess is whatever this opportunity is, it's a very large and significant opportunity, probably something he couldn't say no to, and it came up very fast. And that, probably was a dilemma for him to say, gosh, do I leave politics? As he loved the battle, but, sometimes good jobs can't turn your back on.
Well, I mean, Monty McNaughton, right? Very similar.
It really reminded me of that.
Right? Yeah. So what does this mean for the next education minister? I mean, you point to the fact that's a huge portfolio. I'd imagine that's going to be challenging, too, to get someone up to speed before early September. I've
seen governments put people into the education portfolio and have immediate regrets. And I'm not kidding. Literally, where you say, oh, my God, does this person have the political skills? Do they have the managerial skills to deal with school boards, to deal with schools, to deal with parents, to deal with all of the political pressures that come with that portfolio? It's as hot as hot potatoes get. Yeah. So they are going to want somebody that is very, very skilled at management. And from my perspective, you want someone who's as close to a Todd Smith clone as you can get. You want someone who's affable and likable, who's smart and can take a quick brief, and who gets along with people. It's not a place where you want confrontation. When you have confrontation in the education portfolio, it usually rebounds negatively on the government. Yeah,
Smith was also, I found, quite effective when it came to communication.
Yes.
He, as reporters, we often talk to him, especially given some of the roles he held on to. And that's also something that's really valuable that this government's probably going to miss too, right?
Again, I go back to it. That's the affability of Todd Smith. That makes him an effective communicator. It makes him likable and approachable and accessible. All are qualities I think you do want in an education minister, because you're not just, like you are in some portfolios, dealing with one or two stakeholder industry groups and a few media. You're dealing with parents. You're dealing with communities. You're talking with people about, are we going to close this school? Are we going to keep this school open?
Unions,
these are, absolutely. Union negotiations, they'll be coming up. A new round of negotiations will be coming up a year and a half. So it's an important and delicate portfolio, and you want someone who knows how to handle themselves.
Definitely. Do you want to take a guess who you think might slide into education?
I don't. I haven't really given even a second's thought, I have to confess, because we just swooped into studio. But
just happened,
my gut is they will pick someone from cabinet. You don't bring somebody in from the backbench and give them this job, because you want someone who's a sure hand and has experience. And it will be somebody who's demonstrated managerial competence, because there are so many moving parts. So I don't know immediately off the top of my head who that equals, but it's going to be somebody with real skill. Maybe even somebody like a Caroline Mulrooney, pull her out of Treasury Board, put her into that portfolio where she's has the ability to meet with parents, liaise, connect with people. But you want someone who's showing their skill at juggling more than one thing, because it requires you to keep a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, I was thinking today was almost kind of slow first thing in the morning. Everything's changed on us now, so we'll be watching for that. I was also thinking Ford Fest is today too. I know that's like a very big draw for Ford. His government and his supporters, maybe they'll address it, maybe not, but looks like it'll be a busy afternoon.
That's another cue that this is a surprise. That's another cue that this thing came. With Monty McNaughton, behind the scenes, they knew it was coming for a couple of months. This feels to me like it happened in the last day or two. Okay. The Premier wouldn't be scheduling this kind of announcement on Ford Fest.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get some more answers later on. Scott, thank you for coming in to talk about this. It's a big story affecting a lot of people, and we're all talking about it now. So thank you. We'll be in touch.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Good afternoon.